For January the 21st, 2022, we talk about Tormented Souls, the Microsoft Activision acquisition, and the title of the year 2021 winners, and much, much more. Welcome to Level 400. My name is Kole Ross.
I'm Dennis Furia.
I'm David Maismith.
And I'm Ben Merkel.
And you are listening to The Level. It's a podcast for people who love video games. We are now at episode 400. By the time this episode is finished, we will have done 400 episodes.
So we don't screw it up.
I know.
Don't choke, guys. Don't choke.
What I don't want to do is come out here at the beginning of the episode and say, "Hey guys, we've done 400." I don't want to commit an off by one error here. So,
I see.
Yes. So, we're going to get there. That, of course, is not counting bonus levels and stuff like that. That is just main numbered episodes. 400 is a weird number. Like, we really don't have anything big to celebrate aside from the Toady results. The title of the year results are in. Thank you for tabulating those, Dennis. I actually haven't opened those up yet, so that'll be a surprise for me when we
nice.
When we go. I've not been watching the results. But yeah, we've got the usual kind of thing. So let's do our banter at the front. Did I tell the story about what happened with my plumbing a couple of months ago on here?
No.
Nate, did you talk about it on air?
I talked about it. I know I talked about it on Abject Suffering. This is follow up to something that happened on another show. Back in November, I had a main sewer line clog that made my house. I couldn't live in it, and we got a very bad plumber who came out and, by some weird hijinks, ended up filling a good portion of my house with shit water.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yes, you have talked about this.
Yeah.
I just don't know if it was on the show proper.
Yeah, no, I had plumbing problems again. I was sick. I didn't sleep last night because I was just thinking, oh my God, it's going to be a horrible, expensive thing. And I called the place first thing and like, hey, have a warranty repair. Can you guys come out and get this? They sent out the same guy, and I was thinking, oh God, oh no, oh God, it was the same guy. No. It was fine. They took care of it, and my house was not filled with shit water again this time. So that is my victory this week.
What a redemption arc!
Oh man, it's a Cinderella story.
He really got his life together between then and now.
It was difficult to communicate with him about what precisely was going on, but the problem is solved. So we're good for right now.
This sounds like an interesting business model: is to cover your client's house full of shit the first time you go there, and then anytime after that, they'll be like thrilled with whatever you do.
It's like in Wayne's World. If you're gonna spew. If she runs, she runs. If she stays, she stays. And if she runs, it was never meant to be. Right? So, yeah.
Like, there's some indie game I see a lot of people playing. It's like you're ostensibly a for-profit firefighting company, but as you're saving people, you're also looting their house. So it's like you have to actually save the people. If you don't save the people, you lose. But then the way you score points is by like stealing like stacks of money and like chests and things.
Yeah,
please reclaiming.
I mean, it was going to get burned up anyway. This is, I see this. This is called Ember. That's relatively new. Yeah, we're not talking about videos.
In my museum.
And by my museum, I mean my rumpus room.
Yes.
Yeah. I had never heard about this, but this is not the time where we talk about video games. That's my only banter at the start. My house it's no more full of shit than usual.
Wait, so are you suggesting the plumber fill his house full of shit and then ransack it?
No. I think David David was the one who introduced that. I don't have a segue.
Oh, sorry, that you was directed towards David. You couldn't see me pointing at him
Right.
because this is a podcast.
I'm very pro ransacking. I consider it practice for our Mad Max future.
Yeah. It's called scavenging. Oh, David, how about you? What's going on?
Not a whole hell of a lot. Had yesterday off, so that was good. Yeah, no, not a whole lot. Almost done with a cloak.
Oh.
Ooh.
Yeah, which is it's a weird thing. People don't realize just how massive they are.
Really,
So this is using
depending on how much
something like-
billow you got.
Yeah, something like 16 yards of fabric, something like that.
Oof.
It is a blanket that you wear.
Exactly. Exactly. And so that means like any sewing is like, all right, let's dedicate an entire room of my house to laying this out so I can make everything line up. So that's been an adventure.
Yeah.
So what are you doing with the enchantment slots? What stats are you thinking about adding?
COVID resistance,
Right.
some Trump Bane.
Yes. Nazi
You know,
Bane.
I'm still running the numbers.
Oh man.
If you're gonna make your own cloak, you got to min max it.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah,
It's got to be custom. Take advantage of it.
Make sure you pick the right die up front because they really run you over the coals if you wanna change colors. That costs a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, they take that sort of thing real seriously.
What is this a specific? I've completely lost the metaphor.
We're crafting.
Oh, okay.
And now
I gotcha.
it's not in reference to a specific game, but now I kind of want it to be.
Right. Okay.
So,
Yeah.
Cloak Simulator
the only game-
2022.
Yeah, the only game I can think of that prominently has cloak dyeing is Assassin's Creed.
Yes.
At least the good ones.
Actually, that a game that is just the crafting and enchantment. Like we're headed that way anyway. Let's just cut out all the middlemen, and it's just a crafting game where you min max equipment.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
like the
there's
character
several
goes
of
off
those.
screen to adventure and just comes back with all their profits.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that
And at the end, it tells you how much money you left on the table, like how how you could have maxed it more.
Guys, we can't be talking about video games in this segment.
Like, damn it,
Oh, shoot.
400. Everyone thinks the rules don't apply to them.
We forgot how to podcast.
yeah, no, I think the most interesting thing of learning to sew is realizing how long it took humanity to develop a lot of different clothes.
Yeah. Just because of like did you just learn to appreciate like the dependencies of different techniques or?
Yeah, well, and just things like adding sleeves to things is super hard.
Without it being all wonky. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And so and similarly pants were not particularly outside of knitting, pants weren't much of a thing until the late Middle Ages, something like that.
Yeah.
I'm just bothered by how
go ahead.
pants aren't symmetrical. How it's like different, the back and the front are different sizes because your body is not symmetrical.
That is a whole thing. Is making sure that you line up the correct curves of the crotch and have the inseam. Oh yeah, it's a whole thing. Basically, it makes you very upset at the games where some dude lands on a desert island and can knock rocks together and craft clothing.
Yeah. There is an amazing line from the not nearly popular enough musical television show Gallivant. It's set in medieval times, and the bard is like, guys, I have an idea. Wouldn't it be better for fastening our pants if we made interlocking metal teeth that would be right over our crotch, and you would rapidly pull to slam the teeth together. And I was like, that is insane. That is the worst idea I've ever heard.
But we did it. It took us a long time to figure out the ultimate expression of pants, which is the tearaway workout pants that you rip off when you start a basketball game. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Dennis, how about you?
Yeah, I'm really trying to not talk about a video game here because I third strike and I'm out. I would be ashamed to go out on number 400. No, so my kids have 2 at-home school days. So a long weekend with MLK Day, and then there's 2 teacher days today and tomorrow as we're recording. So I've got the kids at home a little longer than usual, and they brought home like packets to work on. And I kind of got a front row seat to this last year, but it's been an amazing reminder after a single day that every teacher is a goddamn saint and superhero and has emotional capacity that far outstrips anything I can conceive of in day-to-day life.
Yeah,
and just like Spider-Man, they're perpetually broke.
Yeah, that is a whole other topic. But anyway, if you're a teacher, thank you. I taught my kids for a day, and I'm dreading doing it tomorrow. So,
oh man,
it might send them back with a gift card when they go back.
Oh, well,
Vote for your lovies, folks.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
that's me.
Cool. Ben, how about you?
I'm doing pretty good. I also want to talk about a video game with respect to my day-to-day life, but I cannot do that. So I'll just say that I've been starting exercising over the weekend and running again, so I'm happy about that. That's going well. And then a lot of people that I know that I care about are getting COVID in Ohio, so that is scary. So don't get COVID, guys.
Yeah, if you can help it.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Yeah, no, big emphasis on the if you can help it. It's getting harder and harder to do that.
Yep.
Well,
and I'll talk about this. I found about a board game that I didn't know about called The Sleeping Gods, and so I ordered that over the weekend. But it looks really sweet. It's by the guy who did Above and Below, except it's like a legacy type game, and it looks like what Seafall should have been.
Okay.
So you're saying you didn't sleep on it?
So that actually brings up something I wanted to ask the collective, and also allows me to technically bypass the no video game rule.
Okay.
So my D&D group, the DM wants to take a break, but we don't really have anyone else that's particularly up for DMing.
Okay.
Any suggestions on, like, my understanding is there are now like pen and paper video game, or rather pen and paper role-playing game adjacent board games and stuff?
Yeah, Gloomhaven's a decent one. You could either do it on computer or you could do it in person.
Okay.
The board game's a little bit more tedious than the video game because you have to do all the monster AI and stuff and set up and tear down. But if you want like the in-person type thing, then it might be worth it.
Okay.
Yeah. A little more episodic and Lovecraftian, but Mansions of Madness is excellent on that front. App run game.
So I forget, have we had, I can't think who I've had these conversations with, that it seems like I love Mansions of Madness. I love its whole thing. The one downside is it seems like it's either the monster just gets, stomped, or, everyone else gets stomped.
I've only played it once, so I don't have a good judgment for that.
Which game is this?
Mansions of Madness.
Oh, okay. No.
Sorry, I'm thinking of Betrayal on whatever.
Yes. I have
yeah.
heard that is it highly depends on what monster you turn into at the end.
Yeah, that's very volatile, but it's also like a pretty kind of fun, flavorful game, and not like I don't think winning or losing is a huge impact on that sort of game. But
Good point.
and then also, anyway, whatever. This isn't a board gaming podcast. This is a video game podcast.
I mean, it can be.
We don't have any more room for video games on this video game podcast. What happened?
Oh my gosh,
We
weird.
cap it at 400 and then just start talking about board games.
I think I need to take us into the actual games segment
go,
of this because
please.
the pressure is building up. Yeah, so we got the usual kind of show for you, well, with the grind, the multiplayer, and the end boss. And why don't we get started with The Grind, where we talk about the games we have been playing over the past period of time or so. Gonna open the floor for new business. Who's got something new?
So I do.
Okay, David.
So have any of you seen Vampire Survivors?
No.
No. What?
Like the slide deck elevator pitch would be Snake RX meets Castlevania.
Okay.
So it's a Snake RX type thing where you're not directly attacking, you're just moving your character around to dodge enemies and selecting different options that then automatically attack. But the thing that makes it different is that all of the whereas in Snake RX you're choosing different fantasy classes, in this you're choosing basically different sub weapons from Castlevania.
Okay.
So the cross, the holy water, the knives, axe, all of that stuff. And then it's a little bit more, from what I've seen, actual Snake RX, being based on Snake is, much more, you can't stop moving, so it's, and you can't crash into yourself, all those sorts of things. Whereas this is much more of a traditional, kind of top-down type of thing. And rather than being a bullet hell, it's more, I guess, a enemy hell. So
Yeah, I'm
just,
looking at this and trying to figure out how movement has any meaning, because every screen I'm seeing, you're just so completely surrounded that I can't imagine it matters what direction you go.
So there's a couple of things. One is, there's a lot of, I guess, kind of hurting. It's the comparison I've heard made is comparing it to being like navigating through a crowded business or whatever, where it's a lot of just constantly be moving to the least dense part of the screen. And then also a number of the weapons have specific basically fire in relation to where you're moving. So the knives always get thrown directly in front of you, whereas the whip goes in front then in back. So you basically have to maneuver yourself in order to optimally allow the weapons to hit your enemies.
Got it. So while you're not in control of firing, you are kind of in control of aiming.
Right, exactly. One of the interesting things is a lot of the weapons either target an enemy at random or target like the closest enemy, that sort of thing. And so I guess what I'm getting with that is it's often a thing also where it can be difficult to hit a specific enemy. Mm-hmm. So a good deal of the challenge is, when you are getting surrounded and need to punch through a group of enemies in order to get to a clear spot, it can sort of be kind of a art, not a science.
Okay.
So yeah, overall, it's a lot of fun. It's not a super complicated game, but it's also early access and costs $3.
So it has that advantage that Snake RX has, which is being somehow inhumanly inexpensive.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Got to find out if it was developed in 3 months, like Snake RX was.
The assets look like they're aiming for different things, but this appears to be more intricate asset wise.
Yeah, I think so.
Still pretty lo-fi though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's like SNES era.
So fun fact: over the week, I found out a short hike only took 3 months to develop as well.
Really?
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Huh.
That's the game where you're the crow and the graphics are designed to give you a headache.
That was not the design intent.
Hi everybody,
Looks
try
like
my
there's some shade on that short hike.
try my game. It'll make you sick.
No, I just remember it's a combination of like pixelated and motion blur. I just remember it not being a good thing.
It's a really swimmy pixelation filter that I have trouble with. I have trouble looking at games that look like that. Not shade against it. Just it's different sensitivities.
Yeah, I mean it's actually
like
a
VR
pretty
space.
sunny game.
It's pretty what? I'm sorry.
Sunny?
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yes, there we go. But Vampire Survivors, something else in this in the Snake RX auto battler kind of deal. The description of this one makes sense to me, but mostly because I know the Castlevania side weapons, and so like that makes a lot more sense than building the line of the different classes. I can visualize it more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know, I kind of like the fact that it's kind of neat to me that there's this set of weapons that have kind of become, I don't know, semi-canonized, for lack of a better word.
They're pretty, I mean, they're I want to say basic, but they're elemental. Like they are designed for very specific like zones of the screen in relation to your character, right? You know, so the arc of the axe is for things that are like up and diagonal, you know, et cetera, and down the line. So like it's almost I don't know, it feels like primary colors a little bit.
Yeah, and I guess that really makes it very interesting in a game where you can't directly control the weapons.
Right.
Because it's kind of, you're in effect very directly exploiting that, like you said, kind of sector of the screen approach.
Mm-hmm. Not bad. Did you have anything else? Anything else for your grind?
A couple other kind of quick hits. Continuing to play Idle Champions.
Mm-hmm.
I think I found two of my favorite characters. One of them is a gnome, half vampire werewolf.
Okay.
So it's my understanding. I've only caught a bit of the streaming game it's from, but my understanding is it's very explicitly like an epic level game. And the character's goal is to kill Strahd, so basically kind of needs all the help they can get.
Right.
But it's just funny have a character that's just blatantly a minimaxer.
Do they have the like? How do the advantages of being both a lycanthrope and a vampire translate over into the idle game?
So from what I can see, the lycanthrope is mostly just like an interesting skin type of thing. The vampire, basically you use your vampiric domination abilities to dominate your teammates and inspire them to be better fighters.
Okay.
So it's kind of a buffing thing. Their other feature is that she apparently makes your characters or the other characters on your team look like they taste good, so that monsters spawn more quickly, so that you can basically power level easier.
Okay.
The other character I've really enjoy is named Human, who is insists they are a human, but is actually 3 kobolds in a trench coat.
Okay.
Yes.
And so all their abilities, their kind of gimmick is that their stats change based on like what order the kobolds are in the stack.
Who's the head? Who's the legs? Who's the body?
Exactly. Because it's like, only the body can cast spells, for example.
It ends up being like a weird version of the Magus sisters from Final Fantasy IV. Yeah. Ben, what's the character in BoJack Horseman?
It's Princess Carolyn's boyfriend.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to remember his name.
Adultman or something.
Yeah.
Vincent Adultman. Yeah,
Vincent
that's it.
Adultman. There we go. Okay. Sorry. Continue. I that was killing me, and asking Ben seemed like the quickest way to learn. Continue.
I
was
also
not prepared.
enjoy the fact that any buff that targets human heroes will in fact work on them.
Well, I mean, at least divine magic works on belief. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing that's kind of tangential to this that's kind of fun, and I know I mentioned this somewhere. I don't know if I've mentioned this here, so let me know if I have. They've got a lot of partnerships with Wizard of the Coast, and then with various streamers. Mm-hmm. Some of which are just famous, popular D&D streamers, some of which are games that, explicitly they're sponsoring. Mm-hmm. One of the things they've started doing is got a whole bunch of all of the streamers together and basically are having a PvP Dungeons and Dragons tournament.
You mentioned this last week.
Okay, did I? Okay. Had I actually watched it last week?
No, you just said it was coming up.
Okay, so I watched the first episode, which was the kobolds versus I think a bard or something.
Okay.
It was interesting. It was pretty fun. Seeing the players, play min-maxy, but also be in character. Mm-hmm. However, I think my favorite thing is that for the quote unquote ring announcer, they actually got the person who does all the announcements and intros and stuff from UFC.
Okay.
Aha.
So it's the full on and in this corner that whole thing.
Yeah.
I also enjoyed they get to the human quote unquote, and it's and in this corner weighing in at 1 human. With a height of average human. But
yeah.
So yeah, that's just been, dumb. But fun.
Nice.
Sounds like a very creative class though.
Yeah. Other than that, I've been continuing on Far Cry 6. I can't think of anything too incredibly noteworthy. The weapons do get very, very weird. I just unlocked a chain gun and some sort of cross between a sniper rifle and a potato gun.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like a high precision jury-rigged rocket launcher, basically.
Huh.
Yeah. Also, they've added an ability to kind of recruit characters and send them off on missions that kind of, operate in... Excuse me, I'm sorry. Operate in real time.
Okay.
And I appreciate that those, since everything happens, off screen, they feel free to have those go just completely off the rails.
Because they don't have to make up assets to show it. They can just get the description.
Right. And also it's kind of, with it only being, text reports and stuff, they don't have to be as, there's much more suspension of disbelief.
Mm-hmm.
So, like one of them is, you're going after basically a influencer that is shilling for the dictator.
Okay.
And so when you're doing these, you basically have 3 sets of options for, you'll be presented with a situation, have 3 options for it that each will give you a certain reward, have a certain chance of success, and have something that costs, which could be either some of your resources you're gathering to upgrade, or could be some of the soldiers you're sending dying. And then there's 3 sets of decisions that make up the mission. But for example, on the influencer one, it ends up being that the decisions will be like, do we just troll her? Do we, try to get her canceled? Do we try to dox her? Like stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, they have to have, like, all the rest of the missions are, you going in and doing these, these actual military missions. So they have to have, it's set up assuming that, for example, people are going to die, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to come up with, like, how are we going to justify it? So you end up with things where it's like, people, you lost 3 soldiers because they got banned from Instagram or something. Or there's one of the other missions that's kind of similar is the fascist army is basically trying to recruit kids at a skate park.
Okay.
And so you have to like go and send guerrillas to participate in the skate competition to show them that you're cooler than the army people.
Yo, kids, we're down.
Yeah, and that is exactly the tone of all of it. And so like the equivalent of like your characters getting killed in this is like, oh yeah, and then the your character totally wipes on a kickflip and all the kids make fun of him so much that he runs off crying.
I mean, the skating is the one where people could plausibly die.
Well, I mean, some of the others is like there's one where you go for a weapons shipment and for some reason it's Mecca.
Mecca,
like, the whole thing's like I said, completely off the rails.
Mecca, like the holy city for the Islamic faith, or
no, as in robot armor.
Okay, that makes less sense. Okay.
Yes.
Which makes more sense in the context of how weird the game is.
Right. Yeah. This is this is sounding like, I don't know, Just Cause 5 was made by the Saints Row 3 people.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to explain it. I mean, it does have some more legitimate story beats. But yeah, mostly silly. The main thing I'm interested in to see where the plot's going is the fact that, the dictator you're going up against has a son that he's kind of grooming as the heir apparent.
Okay.
And but it appears that the son's actually not a horrible person.
Oh, that's okay. So yeah, so he would be taking over the regime and not like scrapping everything, but he possibly has the chance to break good.
Well, or just, yeah, I mean, it is unclear. Like I said, there are some scenes that are fairly, you know, as Calculon would say, you know, a moat.
Right.
Like there's a scene where basically one of your gorillas gets captured, and the dad tells the son, you know, basically to shoot him.
Okay.
You know, to kill him execution style, and the son refuses. So instead, he forces the son to watch while one of his minions basically beats the guy to death.
Ugh.
And so it's like, I think. So I am a bad judge of these sorts of things because I tend. I don't know. I tend to take a lot of these things at face value. In terms of, you know, what is going to be the overall, I guess, critical response or whatever, I think it'll come down to what degree do people feel either A, that that the game's able to kind of successfully separate these two sides of what it's doing, or B, to what degree is it successfully able to have the craziness kind of be evocative of the mania, you know, that kind of comes from, you know, a country that's falling apart. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, based on your descriptions, it sounds like a mess. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just, it sounds like it's pulling in, you know, a bunch of different directions. It's kind of all over the road.
Yeah, which, I mean, to be fair, my criticism on, in particular, the last 2 games, so, 5 was just shit.
Mm-hmm.
My criticism of 4 was the fact that just they didn't commit to doing anything. Your character was just kind of a boring blank slate that is kind of zombieing through the game.
Not political, please. That's it. You just used way more words to just say not political.
I mean,
your character's not political.
So 5, the problem was that it wasn't political, but 4, it seemed like they were overcorrecting from people who said that the protagonist of 3 was like a spoiled white savior, you know, piece of shit slasher hero kind of guy.
Yeah, and this is one of my things. I personally think that take misses the point of 3, or at least fails to recognize that was the point of 3.
Yeah.
I was thinking that as well.
That's not how I feel because I haven't played it. That's what I.
I understand. I'm just saying, like, I guess what I'm more saying is I think you're right.
Mm-hmm.
I personally think 3, you know, kind of in the modern incarnation of Far Cry, I think 3 was probably the best because it was the one where they, you know, were willing to go for just, you know, making it very over the top, that sort of thing, but also had, you know, kind of some sort of justification for that.
Okay.
But
yeah, seems like go ahead. But
I was gonna say I thought 2 was the one that had the most potential to be a really great game, but was just kind of whatever.
No,
but
yeah, 2's really weird because I think we've had this conversation before, but I think 2 there's a lot of. For it to be good, you have to choose to play it the right way. And I don't mean that in like some sort of judgmental type thing, but I mean more I think there is a good game in it. I think it does a bad job of communicating. It's kind of like the opposite of Dark Souls, in that, you know, Dark Souls definitely has a way they want you to play it, but they also do a good job of teaching you that. Where but also just there are a couple of bugs with the snipers. That was
It seems like a kind of an aimless or rudderless series at this point. I couldn't by looking at the trajectory that they've traced just from the outside, right? Just from getting this, it does not seem to be indicating like a direction that they're going.
Yeah,
it feels like a very focus grouped series.
Yeah.
It's interesting comparing it to like Assassin's Creed, because I think both in the series definitely have entries where it just feels like a game where they just slapped a fresh coat of paint on an existing engine. They're like, here you go. Give us $60, please. But I guess with Assassin's Creed, I feel like there's more entries where they actually had like completely different mechanics and kind of revitalized like the series and freshened it up. I'm thinking particularly of Odyssey and Black Flag.
Yeah, I also think, honestly, I think the, kind of joke dance prop, that the not being political thing just doesn't work with the type of games they're making.
Yeah.
I'm interested in this one because this one is definitely, at least in some ways, more political. Or, I hate this word, but at the very least, much more woke. But
can you qualify that?
So there's definitely fairly often references to basically characters deciding whether they want to leave and escape to America, and the fact that America basically doesn't want them.
Okay.
Likewise, a lot of very overtly gay and trans characters.
Okay, so just more kind of inclusive.
Yeah, and
well, maybe this is a culmination of bad will from previous missteps, but feels inclusive because that's what the focus groups told us to do.
Yeah, and that's kind of, I guess, what I was trying to get at with kind of woke is like, I mean, I think there being representation is better than there not being representation.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's really hard to say.
Yeah.
But
it's probably hard to parse the intent of it as well.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. I am interested to see what they do, because the last two entries in this series, the kind of off-season games have been amazing. So Blood Dragon and New Dawn were both excellent.
No Primal? No Primal?
I never played Primal.
Gotcha.
So I cannot say, but Blood Dragon and New Dawn were both excellent at the very least. So I'm interested to see what they do this time around.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the step has been to make it more outlandish in the off-year game, so it'll be weird to see how their interpretation of that.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Nice. So Far Cry 6, I don't know that I have any other question about it. All right.
Me neither.
Did you have anything else, David?
Nope, that's all I got.
All right. I'm going to do mine because it'll be pretty quick. I just have one. I streamed this past weekend roughly the first half of a new survival horror game. By new, I mean came out midway through last year or something like that. It is called, and forgive the title, it is very forgettable. It is called Tormented Souls. Not Tortured Souls, like I think I called it any number of times. This is a kind of a conscious throwback to older style survival horror games. Like the Steam description even, cites saying like, yeah, we're inspired by the original Resident Evil, the early Alone in the Dark series, things like that. And you can definitely see that, though this is kind of rendered in full 3D in real time. The camera is out of your control. It is taking kind of like fixed camera angles, very cinematic angles, and following your character around. Like there's an option to do tank controls if you want, but you can control it, just by the direction you push is the direction you go, if you would like to. So it is not entirely bound by the earliest kind of tradition. I should get to the premise here. So the premise is you are this girl named Carolyn. You're living in Canada, and you receive a letter that contains a photograph that you have like a psychic reaction to, like it makes you pass out. It's this photograph of these two twin girls, and you go to where the letter was sent from, which turns out to be this hospital that is A, abandoned, and B, built into this big spooky mansion.
Sure,
yeah,
that's what old mansion owners do. Is they build hospitals next door so they get immediate health care.
We have one of those in town.
Oh, it's hilarious because you just if you said like, oh, like make up a like a joke implausible survival horror setting. Oh yeah, big spooky mansion that's also a hospital, and maybe there's a church in there. Can I get a lab under
some
it?
Catacombs, yeah.
Yeah. So you got your character goes there, and before the game even starts, you are knocked out with a blow to the head from behind. You wake up in a tub with a ventilator tube down your throat, and one of your eyes missing.
Oh,
yeah. And
better or worse than one of your kidneys? Not sure.
Man, I don't know.
I'd definitely go kidney, as in kidney missing.
Yeah, I don't know that you can. I don't think eye transplants are possible. I know you can do a cornea transplant, but I don't know. But you are kind of set loose into this puzzle box space with some monsters that are all, spooky. They're kind of these people who've been experimented on and surgically attached to medical equipment, with knives for arms and, just fused to like IV stands and stuff like that.
A lot of people with missing feet in the game too, right?
Yeah.
A lot of halves of people.
You're up to your neck in torsos, So
I mean, to be fair, everyone is up to their neck and torso.
It's kind of like a 3 kobolds in a suit situation.
A little bit, yeah. There's only one other human in the place, seemingly. It's this spooky old priest. And you're going around, and you got lots of doors that are locked. You got lots of rooms where it's not really clear what it is you need to do there. Very limited ammunition, extremely limited health, which is a little bit of a problem because enemies do a lot of damage, and the health recovery items that you end up getting are quite weak, actually. This is challenging. I would say even more so than older survival horror games kind of are, which is a thing. Usually games that are kind of aiming for that overshoot and end up making something that is more stringent or more primitive than those actually were back in the day.
Could be a product of like less play testing or something like that, perhaps.
It's possible, yeah. I don't know that this is a huge team, which makes the actual look of this all the more remarkable. This is a really pretty game. If somebody was looking at this, they would probably, if somebody wanted to tear it apart, they would say, yeah, this has a real like mid PS4 generation kind of vibe to it, but that still looks good, and the lighting in this is fucking fantastic. Yeah, but
how do you make that a negative?
People are jerks about animation and stuff, and etc. The facial animation, so whatever. They're jerks. It's perfectly fine, and the lighting in this is really good. They're punching above their weight class visually, on both technical and design kind of stuff with this.
I thought the camera angles was another big thing that matched like the throwback period where
Absolutely.
there's a lot of fixed camera angles that felt very Silent Hill-ish.
Yeah.
Or Resident Evil-ish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My only complaint, other than like the health kind of stuff, I mean, and even that, like, I have more than enough ammo. But it's just specifically, it is very easy to get hurt, and very hard to heal yourself. My only real complaint is that some of the puzzles have been a little bit obtuse. I'm going to spoil one.
Wait, isn't that appropriate?
Not in particular. So like the obtuseness of the puzzle is like, you know, like nobody would actually design this mechanism to work this way, but like you find the items and then you figure out how to use them. Like there's always something that is waiting for input, and you have to decide what goes in there. However symbolic or abstract what the solution ends up being, the input is very clear. So I'm going to spoil this, primarily because I do not know how somebody would intuit this. Ended up in a point where I was stuck. The game was telling me, hey, go to this operating room, and I went to the operating room and nothing happened there. Something that's happening here that I think is going to end up being a little bit more present later on is that there's a little bit of like a Silent Hill, normal world, dark world kind of thing going on. You normally go make that transition by going through a mirror. Okay. What you have to do is you have to go and look through a particular window that looks into a room that is apparently the operating room, but doesn't look like it's the operating room because you are looking through into the dark world. You see that there is a monster. There's a guy in a big radiation suit walking in a circle around a table, carrying like a big spooky candelabra. And you just like you're looking in and saying like, okay, that's creepy. Okay, that's just scenery. The character in the room doesn't even like really remark on it, whatever. In order to like get the one thing you need, and I was backtracking and going, just double checking everything until I opened up a walkthrough. What you have to do is go to the operating room that doesn't look anything like the room you saw through the window, and pull out your lighter and turn off the lights and walk around the table counterclockwise like that monster is. You do that 3 times, and then the thing that is laying on the table will get up and you fight it, and it turns out that he is laying on top of a scalpel.
Duh.
Yeah, no, you Claude, you absolute buffoon. Why didn't you figure that out? I don't know how I would have intuited that.
That does kind of feel like a puzzle out of like the 80s or 90s though, in a game where it's like you only figure them out by talking to your friends at school, and like somebody got the Prima guide that told them how to do it. And
yeah. I don't know. Like
it certainly doesn't seem fair.
It doesn't. And I'm thinking like, okay, like what kind of feedback would I like would have helped me intuit that? So like if my character inspected I go and inspect the window, and the character said like, well, that looks like the operating room, but there's something weird ... And the monster, like maybe it's walking in the circle, but every time it completes a circle, like the flames on the candelabra like get a little bit brighter. So, it does a complete circle, flares up, does a complete circle, flares up. And then it does the same thing for you when you're walking around with your lighter, possibly. So, okay, yes, something is being input here. It was not clear that walking around that table was input to me, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't, my purpose in saying like, oh, here's how this would have communicated to me is not so much to like Monday morning quarterback, although that's absolutely what I'm doing. And it's a dick move, et cetera, down the line.
Nah, go for it.
But you're also helping people who want to play this game out.
Yeah,
and letting them know.
Because like everything else has been like there are cool puzzles that I don't want to spoil because they've been like, oh yeah, like the intuitive leap that you take is pretty apparent. But it's like the way that the game can communicate back to you can keep that discovery cool while guiding you in subtle ways toward the intuitive leap that you need to make, right?
Well, it also strikes me as so. I'm not a big survival horror person, but what I've picked up from hearing people is that most of the puzzles in like a Silent Hill or a Resident Evil are either some sort of mechanical puzzle, you need to get the crank or the keys or something like that, or some sort of kind of tenuous science experiment.
Yeah.
Whereas this also just doesn't seem to have any justification for it. Like, I could see, like, is there some established lore of, like, I don't know, walking around things in circles is how magic works in this universe?
Seance.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing to my mind. There may have been another hint somewhere that I didn't see. Always willing to blame my own inattentiveness, right? But no, I don't believe that there was any indication that walking around in a circle around something. Like, honestly, it's more like a puzzle out of Mirror Layers, that one game that I played toward the end of last year, the one with the collaborative social network kind of like wiki guide inside of it, like that had the more obtuse puzzle style things in it than this kind of game generally would, right? So this feels like the walking around the operating room table puzzle feels like it is from a different kind of game than survival horror games generally do. Yeah. Yeah.
But outside of that puzzle, the game is pretty good.
Yeah. I tend to fixate on the negative, but it's neat. I'm really excited to finish it. I'm a little bit bummed out that I hadn't really heard about it before. Like, it's just something that I forget how I saw it. I think maybe somebody posted about like a small update that was made. And I was like, oh, that actually that looks pretty good. And there are a handful of ones that are kind of like this that are, on my list here, ready to come up. But like, it just, apparently the back half of last year was kind of good for this level of independent survival horror game. So Yahtzee, great. I look forward to checking out more of it. And if this is indicative of the kind of work that people are doing, then yeah. And even if this is the only one, it could take a shit in the back half. Obviously any game can, but I've got no indication that it's going to be that it's going to get dumb or bad. It's not it's not headed in a direction where I'm worried about that.
Did you get this game on Steam?
Yeah, this is
I was going to ask how much it was.
$20. And
do you know how long it is? It's like 10-hour game or so.
I think it's probably going to be about 8-10 hours, something like that. Which is about what a survival horror game ought to be. At least of this aiming for this vintage, let's say. Yeah, I feel pretty good about the $20 on it. Yeah.
Very cool.
Any other questions about Tormented Souls? All right.
Not excited to hear how the back half looks.
Yeah. Let's see. Dennis.
Yeah, so nothing new, but set up a new piece of equipment.
Ooh.
So I can't remember if I mentioned on the show, but I had a neighbor when I was talking about how I was going to set up our new basement and everything, be like, oh, I've got a Steam Link that I'm not using.
Yeah.
And so I picked up a Steam Link and hooked that up tonight for the downstairs TV. So yeah, I didn't do much other than hook it up, but I was very pleased with just how easy everything was.
Yeah.
Like, literally you plug it in and enter a quick code on the PC. And it's good to go. Like that's the end. There's nothing else. It just works.
I mean, so like to expand that, right? So I don't use a Steam Link anymore, like the actual piece of hardware. I like when I do it either in my living room or in my bedroom, it's just an app on the Apple TV.
Yeah, and I saw that Samsung TVs now have the app.
Do they? God damn it, Samsung.
Yeah.
LG's smart TV stuff is built on WebOS, and nobody wants to develop for that. So I've got to have the goddamn. Yeah, it'd be nice to have that built into the TV, but such is life.
Yeah, such is life. I wasn't sure how much lag I'd get having that, because then it would run through wireless instead of through an Ethernet connection.
Yeah, that makes a difference.
Mm-hmm. And so by using the Steam Link, I can get it to be a straight up Ethernet connection. Yeah. Which I guess I could run that wire to, because my TV does have an Ethernet port.
Yeah.
In it. So now I'm wargaming exactly what the best way to do this is going to be. But suffice to say, it was pretty cool, and it made me yearn for the days when new pieces of hardware didn't come with hours and hours of updates to download.
Yep.
So I don't know if Steam has been like downloading Steam Link updates in the background or something, keeping it updated in anticipation of one day that happening. But,
I think it's just built into the platform. I think any updates to the in-home streaming, they just kind of throw in with the other stuff when they update the client.
Yeah, so that was a very smooth experience. I have to figure out though, like I'm not exactly sure. We just bought also a desk to put down there, and I think I might wind up moving my whole PC down. Mm-hmm. At which point it's like, well, I've got this Steam Link now. Where do I put it? Like, I can plug the PC directly in and be fine. So now I gotta like outfit another room in my house with a TV to justify Steam Link that was gifted to me by a neighbor who got it for $4.
Right.
But it is, it's a cool piece of tech. I gotta use it. So that's the new piece of hardware. Not too much else to say there. I will try it out and let you guys know how it does when it's all hardwired. It's got to essentially just be like hooking up another monitor. Yeah. I can't imagine that the cables being 50 to 60 feet instead of 5 to 6 feet is going to make much of a difference.
Right. It pretty much just works. Like, mm-hmm. I wouldn't run a game for the first time off of the Steam Link. Like when you download it, I would run it on the actual machine, just because, if you're doing it off of Windows, you often get like you need to authorize this or download this Visual, C++ runtime, etc. Do all of that, but like subsequent launches should not be a problem. The thing that you should know is that somebody else cannot be using that computer while it's streaming from it.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure on that, and there are some scenarios where that could be the case, but interesting. Mostly it'll be then for once everyone else is down, and I just feel like being on a big screen instead of a small screen.
Yeah, I'm a believer in the in-home streaming, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of small screens, I've played a hell of a lot more Slay the Spire on my phone.
Nice.
And I don't know if anyone remembers, but when I played on computers, I hated the class The Watcher. Like, it just didn't click with it. I didn't like it. Could never figure it out. Always felt like basically the gimmick of that class is that you have your regular self, then you have a mode where you do double damage, but you take double damage, and then you have a mode that essentially loads up mana for you to use on future turns. And I just always felt like I got stuck in the double damage mode, and then killed. But for some reason, this time around on the phone, it's absolutely clicked, and that is now the class that I'm furthest in the game with. So up to Ascension level 13, which I think is pretty much exclusively a fact for Ben. So you're welcome there.
Yeah, that's really high. That's good.
Yeah, it's been a good run, and I honestly couldn't tell you what was different. Like, it clicked this time around. But basically it is eternally on my phone, and I'm just each time rotating between a character. And I will always just attempt to run with one character and then attempt to run with the next. And never, like I did previously, just pick one character to focus on for a while. And it's kind of keeps things fun and fresh. And in that way, if you're on the super high ascension level character and feeling frustrated, well, great, you're going to rotate back around to something easier, just kind of shake out before you go back to that harder difficulty one. So yeah, that's remained a good time.
Nice. Are Slay the Spire runs, or even like rounds, are those quick enough for you to kind of like squeeze it in edgewise?
Yeah, and it's great because you can just turn off your phone at any point and it stays where it needs to be.
That's good.
It's got the same weird thing when it comes to actually, because you can just lock your phone and it's right there for you, or there is a save and quit option, and the save and quit option does the same thing it does on PC, where let's say you beat a boss, you choose the relic you get from that boss, and then you load into the next level of the tower, essentially the next map that you have to fight your way through. If you save and quit at that point, when you load back in, you're back at the choice of boss relics.
No,
that might just be where the last checkpoint is.
Yeah, but it's always the same relics and always the same result, because all of this is seeded.
Yeah.
And which means that as I'm getting up into the higher difficulty levels, I've kind of fudged it a little bit, where like, okay, some relics are like transform all of your basic cards into random other cards, which might be more powerful, might not. Or might fit with your build and might not. And since I can, I'll click it, see what's in there, and then decide if I want to keep going or back out. Or in the instance, I'll have multiple relics that do something to your deck that is random, and I'll like check out each one and reloaded the save. But it's almost like the Dark Souls mentality of like at higher ascension levels, if it works, it's fine.
Yeah,
like,
if it's in the game, it's in the game. Yeah.
That's similar to individual battles too, where if you're gonna die, you can just back out and you can start the fight over again. Sometimes it's like inescapable, but yeah, I've had friends kind of max min things like that.
I've never felt I should take that back. It hasn't. I've never got to the end of the fight and just been like, oh, there was that one coin flip that didn't work out, and if I can just recreate that, I'm fine. Yeah, it's always felt like if I get to the end of the fight and I lost, it was probably enough due to my skill level that redoing the fight would not yield a different result. Not that the fight is a foregone conclusion, but just that my ability is not going to be informed, or my ability is not going to change so much between trying one fight that it's going to make a huge difference. I'd rather go do a couple more runs and then build on those than try to do the same fight over and over.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, for a game that really has that roguelike feel to it, the checkpointing is kind of wonky. Yeah, but enjoying it, and like I said, that's just kind of the default. I can pause at any moment, and it is, since it's a card game and kind of there's no timer even, since it's single player. On the times where I'm just like following Barrett as he rampages around the house, and like, he's in this thing where he wants to pat every toy. So he'll crawl over to a toy and just kind of pat it, and then crawl over to the next toy. And so while he's doing that, I can have Slay the Spire up and just kind of chase him around while he's doing his thing.
Yeah,
his inscrutable baby thing. Yeah, so that's Slay the Spire. I have also sunk more time into Vermintide 2. And found the loadout that I like. So every character has different weapons that kind of act slightly differently. Specifically for my character, I think she's a witch or a bright mage, or I forget exactly what they call her. But she's got a flaming staff. And there's one that kind of acts more like a machine gun than a single shot gun as you're launching fireballs. And I found that I like that a lot, which means I can always, focus on upgrading those, or, making sure that the one I have is as powerful as possible. But I'm kind of mourning that stage of a game where you're constantly trying out new builds based on the gear you get. It's like, I've settled on what I like the best, at least for now. And now I will not experiment again until this build becomes not viable, or until I get bored with it.
The cement
Yeah,
is drying.
The exploring stage has ended.
Yeah. Which is fine. Like the game stands on its own completely without playing with the gear. Like it's not a game about upgrading your gear. It's a game about fighting rats and barbarians now. But yeah, so I've played that a good amount. Dropped in with quick play almost every time, which just automatically matches you to a game, and that's been on the whole a very, very good experience. Like you find games quickly, you find people that are cooperative and not trolling or derping around. The one thing is that usually if you're in a random group like that, the people are not going to focus too much on getting all the collectibles. And so if you want to get the most out of a run, or if you're like, we could, as you pick up collectibles, it makes the run progressively more difficult, but you get progressively better rewards. And I haven't found many groups that actually commit to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, still very fun.
Nice. It's good that matchmaking's worked out for you.
Yeah, I'm glad that game is active, because I'm coming to it a little bit late, and I came to the first Vermintide a little bit late, and by the time I came to the first Vermintide, it was completely dead unless you were playing with a pre-made group. So that this one is going strong is very heartening to me.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Was that all you had?
That's what I've got.
Cool. Ben, how about you?
Yeah, I only got a few odds and ends. I've continued playing Kingdom Come Deliverance, maybe for another hour or two more. Gotten more into maybe the main area that I'm going to be for the most of the game. It's feeling more like a Skyrim type game, I guess, where I've met kind of the stealth teacher person who's taught me how to pickpocket and taught me how to pick locks and that type of thing, and how to be sneaky, and given me a couple sneaky missions. So I think I'm starting to see that sort of branch of the game. I'm starting to go to some of the main towns and meet more of the main characters. So it's opening up a bit. It's still kind of slow moving, mostly just because I'm not hooked on the game or anything. So I'll only play it for maybe half an hour to an hour sitting, and then go do something else, and then come back to it later.
Yeah.
There's definitely some jank with how the stealth works. I had a mission where I needed to rob a ring from a person's house, and I snuck into their house successfully. I opened a chest, but it had a bunch of other things in it. So I rob all those things. I stand up. The person walks into the same room that I'm in. I talk to him, and then I offered to buy a ring off of him. He is not alarmed that I've broken into his house and I'm standing over a chest that's been looted. And so I figured it would be I'll buy a ring from you. Yeah. I figured that'll, mend the fence of me actively robbing you. So everything worked out, and I suppose I'm okay with jank like that because it's a bank error in my favor. So it's much better than getting in a fail state or something like that. But
it's just a very laid back dude who's I guess this is a shop now.
And there's a decent amount of intrigue with the map. There's bathhouses that I've walked by and some other different types of things. So they kind of have bespoke areas for all the areas that I visited, that you can kind of investigate further if you want to. So it seems pretty cool so far. But yeah, I don't have too much to report beyond that. It does seem like it's going to be a big game, though. Just because stealth is only one skill you can invest in. There's others with persuasion. There's differences between persuading commoners versus royal class. There's fighting and stuff. So anyway, but it's cool. It's a cool atmosphere being in the medieval. It's medieval Skyrim, I guess. It's kind of a way to think of it right now.
There's no supernatural.
Skyrim, medieval Skyrim.
Yeah, but there's no supernatural. It's supposed to be realistic. Oh yeah, one funny interaction is I met one person and was seeing what they had for sale. They had a book that was would help your speech, which is what I'm trying to go heavily into. And so I get a bunch of things and trade them off so I could buy the book. and as soon as I do, a text message comes up and says, "You can't read." Like, it was not common for people to read back in these times. like you might need to befriend somebody who can read, and then they can read this book for you and tell you what it's saying.
Oh my god!
Wait, is there signage that you can read?
Yeah, there's like plenty of other things that you can kind of read up until that point, but I was completely happy with that little detail. I thought it was funny. So
there needs to be a mod that just like anytime that dialogue would pop up, it should just say there was no silverware in medieval times, so there's no silverware at medieval times.
I'm trying to think of the next line in the cable guy after that.
Then it's what did they have, Pepsi?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, anyway, so the game's still interesting. I like how immersive it is, and it does seem to try and be fun with as far as like the characters you meet and the missions that you do. Like it's trying to favor doing like kind of fun things over. It's not like survival mode or anything where it's like this needs to be 100% accurate to the times. Yeah. Anyway,
is there a main quest that you could follow, or is it just like, hey, you're set out in this world, succeed however you can?
No, you have a main branch, and like They have characters, and there's like, and that's something that I like about this is like they had the titles like kind of unusually late in the game, like maybe after like 4 or 5 hours or so, they had some of the opening credits, but like there was literally a credit for like story by, and it was like this person, like a single person like came up with a story for the game. So that gives me like a lot of like hope, where it's like, okay, somebody like has like beginning, middle, end that they kind of want to like get across, like, and you can kind of feel that in the story so far of them setting up things. So I do, and so the main quests are basically talking to characters who've already been established in the world and everything. There's like 2 main quests I have, and I think 1 or 2 side quests I can pursue. So yeah, it's not like completely open-ended or something like that, where you feel kind of like at a loss for where to go or anything like that. So yeah.
Nice.
Any other questions about that game? All right. Moving on, there was a bunch of small games I kind of wanted to talk about. I had a game night with some friends last night, but we had an added challenge where one of them was not at home, so they could only do browser-based games.
Ooh.
So we played a couple of those. We played a game called Gartic Phone. Did anyone play this on the charity stream by any chance?
I mean, I did. It rules. Like, like I was not sure of how it would pan out. Just kind of given the the way that it works, but it ended up kind of creating some really fun moments.
Yeah, it's awesome, right?
Yeah.
And I found out, I was worried because there was only 4 of us when we were playing, but you can do like 2 passes on things, so it goes like 7 or 8 rounds, and so like that way you're not like you can get like a full experience even if you have less players. So the fact that they had that feature is very nice.
Just in case people missed it, it's a browser-based game called Gartic Phone. I don't know what Gartic means or whatever, but the phone is for telephone.
It's telephone Pictionary essentially.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's great. Anyway, that was one of the games we played. We also played was it not MapQuest, but what's it called? GeoGuessr.
Oh yeah.
You can party up and do challenges with that one.
Oh.
I think some of it works easier if one person's like a member or whatever, or does like whatever paid subscription plan they are. But we just did round challenges where it's like 5 locations around the world, and first person, whoever gets the most points like wins after 5 rounds.
Yeah.
And the idea is you have like a 2 or 3 minute time limit. You get dropped off on a random spot. You have to try and figure out where you are in the world. So you're like frantically clicking around. It's like a Google Maps interface, trying to find clues. So like a name of the city or a name of the country or something like that.
Yeah. It's like, what side of the road are people driving on? What language are the street signs in? Is there water? Is there, where's the sun located? Because that tells you if you're in the north or south.
Yeah, and that kind of had some fun results. I think the most interesting one is we were dropped in the middle of a highway, but there were dead ends on both sides of it after like maybe a quarter mile. So it's like you only had this highway to try and guess it above. So,
That's purgatory.
Yeah. God damn it, Dennis, you scooped it.
And there is the one thing that we had all found is there was a single truck on the highway that said contents inflammable instead of flammable.
Oh,
which was
okay. Yeah.
Anyway. And then the last game I want to talk about that we played was clearly the best one. It's called Pizzuno, which is a combination of pizza and Uno. And it's basically just Uno, but it's the jankest implementation of Uno I've ever played. The pizza part doesn't come up too much, except there's a bunch of like pictures of pizza in the background of the mat that you're playing on. And I think it's just to get away from being suable. So I think that's the main purpose pizza has in the game.
Which is hilarious because I'm looking like the HTML like title for the page is "Play Uno registered trademark symbol online with friends for free."
Yep. I had a lot of affection for this game in my heart because of how bad it was. The animation of when you play a card is great. It has this like some sort of effect of the card coming up and being played, and then it snaps back into your hand for a second, and then it disappears. It's like that part was funny. When you usually say Uno, what happens is there's a tiny button that comes up in the bottom right side that says like, say Uno or something like that. You click on it. You're supposed to do this when you still have two cards in hand, but before you play one of those two cards.
What?
Yeah. If you forget to do this, if you forget to say Uno, then you get like 5 cards added back into your hand. And this ended up being a really good feature of the game because like it was like maybe a third of the time you would forget to do this and you'd be like, oh fuck, and you're back at like 6 cards. And so like no longer in striking distance of winning.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that was particularly great is skip and reverse cards get evaluated over and over again. Meaning, if I do a reverse back to like you, Kole, and say you had to draw a card and you couldn't play anything, it would evaluate that reverse again and it would reverse it back to me.
What?
and then I would either play something, or if I didn't have anything, it would evaluate it again and then it would reverse it back to you.
God, just jank is just a treasure.
Yes. And same thing happened with skips. And so in a 4-player game, if you skip someone, it would go to the person across from you. If they couldn't play anything, it would evaluate the skip again, and then it would come back to your turn again. It was like, sweet.
It's just a circus. Yeah.
Yeah. But those are all like mostly free games people can play online. So that's fun if you need to do a game group or anything like that. But outside of those, just a bunch of small things. Played a little bit of Storybook Brawl, played a little bit of Back for Blood, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Nice.
Played a little bit of Gloomhaven. Gloomhaven's sweet, too. I finally unlocked all the characters in Gloomhaven, so now I have not as much to look forward to in that game. But it's still fun, so...
So now I am dead inside.
Yeah.
No. Once you get Gloomhaven, once you get the Prosperity to level 9, it's pretty great. Because anytime you make a new character, they like level up completely immediately, and so you're playing with like a bomb ass character from the get-go.
Yeah,
that's all I got.
That sounds like a segment.
Multiplayer.
Now it is time for the multiplayer, where we ask you a question and then you answer it. Hey, Dennis, what is the question that you asked the nice people?
Yeah, since we're crossing a milestone, we wanted to know what game you have spent the most cumulative time on. And you can include not just your time played, but also time reading about, thinking about, watching, etc.
Okay. I'll get started here with Callum, who says, although it was a long, long time ago, the answer would still be WoW. I lived in the community from partway through the initial release up until the second expansion, pretty much nonstop. Then I realized I missed playing other games, and I haven't played MMOs seriously since. Yeah, that's the realization. You realize how much you're missing out by spending so much time on just one.
But you got to get the new weekly doodad
No,
thing.
you don't. See, the thing is you don't.
There's a number to go up, though. There's a number to go up.
Ben, what does Rick say?
Rick says, congrats on 400. My answers are Final Fantasy IX and Rocket League, but I'll focus on the former since it seems more appropriate. I have had Final Fantasy IX since it was new. I was in first grade, and I must have played it through 5 or 6 times by now. The themes of the game, the writing, the music, as I age, the game continues to resonate with me in new ways, which I think is a sign of good work of art. To me, it is the Final Fantasy game with the most nuance, the best battle system, honorable mentions to 10 and 13, and the best music, honorable mention to 6. It will forever be my favorite Final Fantasy, and although not my favorite game of all time, it is certainly the most impactful game on my life as a gamer. Gamer in double quotation marks.
Ooh. Yeah.
Good answer.
Well put. Yeah. It's been way too long since I played FF9.
Which one is that?
That's the one where your character has the tail.
Oh, yeah. Do they ever explain that?
Just, yeah, eventually.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're saying?
Kinda. David, what does Greg say?
Greg says, congratulations on the 400th episode. It's really hard for me to say which game I've spent most time on, but I have records to show how much time I've spent playing Civilization 5, due to this being the game of choice for my online gaming sessions. Steam shows a total of almost 1,500 hours played. If you include time I've spent reading about it, thinking about it, planning what to do, etc., I'm quite sure there's at least 500 hours on that. That's almost 3 months on this one game, including the other games in the series. I'm sure that's the most time-consuming gaming franchise.
Yeah, Civ do it. If I had an hour count on how many hours I spent in Civilization Revolution on the DS, it would probably be embarrassing. That's a good game.
Well, you know, it's the DS is easy to keep on you, you know?
Yeah. I lost whole nights to that in college. Just laying in bed playing
I just find that the secret is just not to be embarrassed. Like, you just have to be shameless.
Yeah, no, it's. I think a lot of people are learning that these days. Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's mostly politicians.
Yes. Yeah. Let's see here. That was Dennis. What does Gwillem say?
Gwillem says it's gotta be Doom 2. My sessions with it are usually pretty short, but it's been around for 28 years, and I've probably played it during all of them. Even if I massively lowball my guesses for how many hours this adds up to each year, there's zero chance of it not being the cumulative winner. And no other game is going to be able to come along and compete with that multi-decade head start.
It's
Nice.
it's one of those things. Or if you making early deposits often, outweighs big deposits later. Yeah, that'll do it. 28 years. Good Lord.
That can't be right.
No, that's you must have added 10 years there.
Yeah, there's a typo. You put a 2 in front of that 8.
2002 was 10 years ago, guys. Don't worry. Zach says, if I had to guess, at least in the last while, I would say Genshin Impact, but that's probably not right, and the right answer will probably surprise and disappoint me. That is, I appreciate the candor, Zach. Ben, what does Andrew say?
Andrew says, for me, it's card games. This year has been Slay the Spire. It's just so easy to dip into a run, but to truly master the game takes an insane level of skill, so watching streamers really pays off. Before that, it was Eternal Digital CCG, which is a really underrated free-to-play game that plays similar to Magic the Gathering and designed by several pros from that game. They come out with a new card sets every few months, they come out with a card sets every few months, so there's always something new to master.
I had never heard of that.
I want to say, is that I think that's a game that I downloaded and then never actually played. But yeah, the name rings a bell.
Yeah.
I want to look up and see if it's the... Okay. I don't know.
Yeah. Let's see. David, what does Sean say?
Sean says, for me, it would be The Witcher 3. I find myself utterly captivated with the game's world, story, and characters. I wanted to see every aspect of the world and its lore that I could. So outside the game, I've watched videos on the previous games, read the books, comics, and of course watched the Netflix TV show and anime.
That's a pretty easy one to sink a lot of time into, yeah.
I did not know there was both a TV show and an anime.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is making me remember that season 2 is out now, and I've been sleeping on that, and probably shouldn't anymore.
Yeah. No, I am currently in the middle of another watch, but that is on my list for something to attack pretty soon. Yeah. Let's see, Dennis, what does Skylar say?
Skylar says Dota 2. It's a massive headache to get into, and I will never understand how Valve hasn't made the learning curve easier for newcomers after all these years. However, it really has something special that nothing else, even similar games like League of Legends, can scratch. The fact that every character is available to everyone without any unlocking or monetization outside of Valve hats make the range of options incredibly complex, if not overwhelming, and it's super rewarding when you make the right calls and a good game happens.
I didn't realize that everything was open to you.
Yeah, I didn't either. That is baller.
Yeah. Well, Valve doesn't need money, so they can just do stuff like that. Yeah.
It's funny to watch interviews with Valve in like 2015 or 2016 or so, because like all they're talking about is how like Gabe's just playing Dota 2 all the time, and a lot of people who work there are just playing Dota 2 all the time, haven't put out a game since Dota 2 came out.
Sounds about right, yeah.
Yeah.
Patrick writes, congrats on 400. Thank you, Patrick. For me, it is between two games. Currently, it is Destiny 2, since I talk on Discord, and I've made friends that I've done in-person things with from that game. But overall, I suspect it really is Final Fantasy XI. Between link shell chat, while waiting for groups to researching new XP locations, I spent a bunch of time in game. Then I would spend time researching how to do quests and where each step led, because it was such an old MMO before because it was an old MMO before the days of map markers.
Oh man,
yeah,
ancient.
I mean, my answer is going to be pretty similar to that, but
was that the one that was like the killer app for the PS2's like online connectivity add-on?
Yeah, it was the one where if you wanted to play it on the PS2, like on the PlayStation 2 Fat, it would install in that cavernous hard drive cavity on the back.
And my hard drive, baby.
Yes, it was really one of the only games that came out in America that made use of that. And also it, was the network adapter, obviously, because it was played online. Yep. And it's still going. Like you can still play Final Fantasy 11. Maybe not
really, even with 14 out.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's one of those things, the original EverQuest is still around.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see, Ben, what does Rookie say?
Rookie says World of Warcraft, and it's not even close. I played that game off and on for 15 years, and when I played it a lot, especially during the Burning Crusade and Wrath. I dare not check my played time because that sort of forbidden knowledge will break my mind.
Yeah.
It's the reason I have a games backlog. All the horror stories that have come out of Blizzard hopefully means that maybe, just maybe, I'm finally done with World of Warcraft for good.
Hey.
I mean, Blizzard isn't Blizzard anymore, so now all is forgiven.
Yep.
We'll get to that soon.
Oh no, this was lost in the transfer over, but Rookie posted that before the announcement went out.
Oh yeah, this morning. Yeah.
Craziness.
Let's see here, David. What does Tyler say?
Let's see here. Sorry, I need to scroll down. Oh, sorry, it's an added one. Tyler says, when I was in high school, it was probably League of Legends. But now I've escaped, and now it's probably a toss-up between Monster Hunter and Final Fantasy XIV. I'm much happier now.
And then finally, Dennis, what does David say?
David says probably Pokemon Gold, Silver, or Crystal, and Crystal over the year or two after those released. That was basically the only game I played, and that was the last time I fully completed a Pokédex. Man, that's an accomplishment.
Yeah. It was the last time it was like feasible to do on one generation. Yeah. Well, I mean, there were not multiple generations to cross, so that was a dumb thing that I said.
Well, I know what you meant. I am wondering, is that a generation of the game where they had shiny versions?
Yeah, but they were. It was like they had just added them.
Okay, yeah, that was a feature that's like, all right, screw you. You will never get everything.
Yep. Got to catch them all, but technically you can't. Or there's a way that we can disqualify the ones that you caught. Everybody.
Gotta live forever first.
Yeah, no, they were added in Generation 2. I think the implementation on Shinies was different, but they were definitely there.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. For me, it's probably, I mean, if it's like a series, obviously Dark Souls. We have a whole show based on that on the network, like an individual one in those. I would have said Dark Souls 2, just because of all the versions of that, and that has kind of the most meaty DLC. However, with mods, the Dark Souls 1 might have edged out Dark Souls 2 by this point.
That way madness lies, trying to figure out all the different versions, mods, etc.
Yeah, but my answer is probably going to have to be EverQuest, because that was, a game. It's a while ago, but it was one of those games where you type /played and it shows you in days, and then it shows you in weeks. And I've not, maybe there are games that have edged it out, but like that was the first and, biggest time where it's like, oh yeah, weeks and months have gone into this, and I don't know how I feel about that. I had fun, and this is back in like the not the way early days, but like the first 3 expansions days, probably EverQuest because of the time suck, and I've never done another big online game as much as that one. Yeah. Ben.
Yeah, so like I checked my Rocket League hours and then like I was trying to hope like, well, maybe that's more than Magic the Gathering, but then I checked like Magic Duels, which was what came out before Arena, and I have like 700 hours on that, so it's like Magic has to blow Rocket League out of the water.
What was your Rocket League number? You kind of
1,100 hours.
1,100. Okay, yeah.
But I'm saying like not counting in person and not counting Arena, I'm already over half of the way there, and
right.
and those take up so much more time. I'm very glad that Arena does not have a function to show you how long you played on Arena. Would not be something I would be interested in knowing.
Yeah, so. Yeah. David, how about you?
So I think it could be one of the MMOs, because I've gone pretty hardcore into that. However, the one I think I'm going to give it to is Warframe. My Steam time played is 441 hours.
That feels low.
That does.
Yeah, that surprises me.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is Steam time, which is just,
Yeah.
I do know I'm up to several hundred days played in terms of like how many days have I logged in. So by that metric. Also, I suppose a maybe kind of dark horse one for me would be Kingdom of Loathing.
Oh sure,
yeah, that would do it.
That's a good one.
Yeah, especially, I don't know, can we cheat and include West of Loathing in that?
That would only, I mean, it's a pretty big game, but that would only add 12 to 15 hours onto it, probably, right?
True. But I'm all about padding my score.
And I count West of Loathing because there are Duckfeed references in that. So,
Yep.
Yeah, it counts double, triple, hundreds.
Hundreds of hours.
Dennis.
Yeah, I in my mind when I posted the question, I'm like, it's probably a toss-up between XCOM and Trackmania. But looking specifically at XCOM 2, I've played 340 hours. And then from the previous game, it's probably, double that.
Okay.
Easily. However, Trackmania, I looked at it and I have 823 hours played.
Okay.
So that's those are roughly in the same place. But then I realized that I've accrued those hours in Trackmania over just the 2 years that the game has been out, which averages to about 5% of my life in the past 2 years, which is nuts. So there have to be some times where I've just left the game up and gone out for the day, and I know that's happened. That's buffered some, but man, did I fall for this game hard.
Nice. Well, this has given us all a lot to think about.
A lot to bury deep away and not think about.
A lot to reevaluate is probably a more accurate term.
On average, the I generally we go between like 145 and 215 generally on this show. So if you say if you say 2 hours, we've got about 800 on 800 hours on here. The level,
yeah, sure,
yeah. That's fun.
Or about one World of Warcraft.
Yeah, which I'm happy we did this instead of World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for participating. Thank you, Dennis, for putting the question up. If you would like to participate in these in the future, go to facebook.com/thelevelpodcast and watch for the prompts to go up on Monday afternoons. The end boss. Now it is time for the end boss, where we were just going to do the title of the year results because people voted and those results are in. I'm looking at them right now. But something big happened, and it probably bears mentioning. We are not solely a game news show, but I've got thoughts, and I'm sure you guys do as well. So Activision Blizzard has had a bunch of problems over the past, let's say, 6 months. They've had problems for much, much longer, but people have known about these problems.
Those problems have come to the surface.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, problems only exist if people know about them.
Right. Just like, diagnoses and stuff, right? But this morning, as of we're recording this here on Tuesday, I was shocked to open up Twitter and see that Microsoft put in an offer. What was it, for $79 billion on Activision Blizzard?
Yeah, a number high enough to cease to have meaning.
Yes, 68.7, which is wild. $68.7 billion to buy Activision Blizzard, and just to let you know, like what that gives them, to add into their Game Pass and all that stuff. They have Call of Duty, they have Diablo, Overwatch, Warcraft, StarCraft. That's wild. Tony Hawk, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, GoldenEye 007, Candy Crush, which it was not gonna
King Digital comes over with that, and that's a whole slimy can of worms.
Yeah, doesn't Microsoft already own Rare? How are they getting GoldenEye now?
It is really weird the way that has gone. Rare technically didn't own the license for GoldenEye. I think that was it was Nintendo, and only briefly, and then it passed around. So that's in addition to Fallout, The Elder Scrolls, Wolfenstein, Doom, all of those series, Hellblade, State of Decay, Wasteland, any games made by Double Fine, including Psychonauts, Obsidian games, including The Outer World, and anything else that they have done, Minecraft, and then there are their own internal things such as Gears of War and Halo. My only thought, the things are going to be sorted out, and everybody is saying like, Bobby Kotick is probably going to be gone after the deal is closed. This should be illegal. We should have antitrust laws in the country to stop this from happening. That's way too many games. It's too much. You can't.
It's also already come out. I think they've affirmed that Bobby Kotick is going to stick around.
Have they? Okay. That has gone back and forth all day.
Yeah. Man.
Wait, so what did Bobby Kotick personally do or whatever? I've not followed this at all.
What he didn't do. He knew about a lot of what was going on and just protected.
Just did nothing about it, and they're keeping him?
And also like explicitly buried reports, that the board had ordered and things like that, like just a big cover up.
Isn't that illegal?
It ought to be. I don't know for sure.
The most depressing thing to me, and maybe this is cynical, but it's like, watching the whole thing going down and being like, okay, something like this is actually sticking, and like, it's people standing up to not have an environment of harassment or a toxic culture is finally like getting taken seriously and is not going to get swept under the rug. And then it's like, oh, this was just a campaign to devalue Activision before it was snapped up. Cool.
That is an interpretation, like not, it would be conspiratorial to say that was like the reason why this stuff came out, but like nobody Activision would have sold for a lot more in January of last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will watch and see how quickly all of this the harassment stuff stays or is swept under the rug. But I don't have a ton of hope that it's not going to be like, oh well, we fixed it with the PR statement and nothing will change. But let's get back to making money.
It's a very weird time to sell a company that's embroiled in lawsuits right now.
Yeah,
it's a great time to buy one.
Yeah,
but do you inherit the liability? Like, what happens to the to the state of to the DOJ in California? What happens to the federal DOJ? Their action against it, right? Like,
that's like, have you followed any of this Johnson thing?
No.
So basically, they're getting sued for there being asbestos in their baby powder.
Okay.
And so what they're doing is splitting off and creating a new company that owns all of the liability.
Oh, Jesus.
Wow.
And then having it declare bankruptcy.
So they're
I didn't think we'd see Cyberpunk in our lifetimes, growing up as a kid.
So they're pulling some Sackler shit, is what they're doing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ugh. I don't know. It's depressing. There are any number of problems with this. I hope that it makes a better working environment for people. Like, this doesn't change any of my opinions about supporting an Activision stuff in the future. Ugh. I don't care for it, not one bit.
No.
Do we have anything else about this other than going?
So there's also the question of will all of these games become Xbox exclusive?
That's up in the air. They're being real non-committal about it. I think they would be shooting themselves in the foot if they did that. But that has never stopped a company from being overbearing in the past. So,
yeah, we'll see. It'll have changed 15 more times by the time you're listening to this. So
yes, yeah.
Oh, hopefully some of those things broke well.
Hopefully. I want to laugh at this. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Why don't we just tax corporations so they don't have $70 billion they could spend?
Just to throw around. Yeah. I don't know.
Remember there was the whole stunt a while ago where there was some clickbait headline of Elon Musk could cure world hunger with $6 billion, and he's like, fine, I'll show me how and I'll do it. And all the headlines came out was like, oh well, actually the number is more like 60 billion. So one Activision, we could do it.
Yeah, jeez. I agree with what Ben said, and further. But if I said any more, we would probably get swept up. The last episode of the level. So I wanna laugh at some NFT guys before we do this. Ben, this story is hilarious.
Yeah, this is also like sad for the people. I don't know, whatever.
I mean,
like our weekly installment of NFTs are dumb. Is there's a group called, what is it, Spice DAO, I believe. DAO's like a programming term for like data access object. It's like a DB in code if you want to do it or something like that. But anyway, they're called Spice DAO. They bought an NFT for a copy of a Dune book, like an old copy of a Dune book, for $3 million. Thinking that this gives them the rights to all of Dune. Not sure how they got that thought in their mind. And so they tweeted like a message saying like, "Oh, hey, we won the auction. Here's all of what we plan to do with like the copyright.
We want to open it up to the fans to expand the universe, so it'll be, you know."
They wanted to make an animated series and support different projects and stuff. Yeah. So sorry, guys.
Yeah. How does someone that dumb get enough money to throw at this?
Yeah.
I mean,
that's right. They can just create a shell corporation that holds all the liability and declare bankruptcy.
Another argument for just taxing wealth.
Yeah. No, tax them into the sun. Oh man. Let's do the title of the year.
Happy note.
Let's do that. So let's do the A toady and go top 5. Let's say.
Yeah. So these are titles that we suggested but didn't quite make the cut, but are still fun anyway.
Yeah. So oh my gosh, it'll be hard to do. So let's do the top 5 that are in the database. Let's say. Or the on the spreadsheet here, the ones that I have highlighted.
Do you want to? Should we do top 4 because it's ambiguous? There's like a 15-way tie for number 5.
There is a 15-way tie. Okay, so we've got the top 4 here. Starting with number 4. It's a 3-way tie for number 2. We have there are a lot of alternate titles.
There's so many alternate titles.
I mean, I keep track of all of them, guys. But we have existential dread you can log out from.
Yes.
I'm happy we have the alternate titles because that's where all the long ones can go.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's see, Ben, what's the next one up?
No bad grappling hooks in good games.
I'm not sure how I feel about that, but okay. I don't know if that's true because there's a bad grappling hook in Super Metroid.
Well, it's tough to recall the context of this, right? Is this being prescriptive, or is this saying, please, like, don't put bad grappling hooks in good games?
Possibly.
No, I remember. I stand by my assertion that all games with grappling hooks are good, or rather, there are no bad grappling hooks in good games.
Yes. Okay. I mean, part of the beauty of this is stripping things of context. We are down to the elemental truth. David, what is the one in the number 2 slot here?
Flesh mustache.
I don't care for that one bit.
No. Okay, short ones don't belong here. Get rid of it. Purge the short ones.
And Dennis, what is number 1?
I didn't say it was a smart thing for me to think.
That's pretty good.
I'm glad we got a clear winner for the A toady. So number 1 had more votes than anything else.
Yeah. I like those are endangered Jala as another one. Anybody have any favorites from down the way?
I'm glad that this one didn't get any higher because it made kind of like flesh mustache, but raw dog your ears.
Oh no,
should not get any awards.
Nope. People voted for it though.
I have to just for my initial reaction to it, which end of the concubine am I on is pretty good. Oh no, which leads very nicely into sexy is the symptom, horny is the reaction.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
David, did you have any ones you liked from down the line?
I do kind of like Kole can't play it. Kole has the problem.
I used this, so I have to call it out. But Necromancer's Own Bones is pretty good. Good, clever one.
Well, what do you mean by use that?
It came up in conversation.
Gotcha. Okay.
Oh yeah, guys. Necromancer's Own Bones.
And let's do the top 5 of the actual toadies. So number 5 is hell is other people's content.
Yep.
Yeah. Ben, what is number 4?
Oh no, Detroit became human.
Yes. we had to we I think in the actual episode it's oh shit guys, Detroit became human. Oh man. David, what's number 3?
3 is you gotta learn about Alan Rickman sometime.
Which is true.
Mm-hmm. Which, funny enough, I think that one was the last title entered.
There's there's always
real
been
Oscar space there.
Recency bias, yeah.
Yes, I was going to say
or Alan Rickman bias.
Yeah, the poll randomizes the order of the answers, so that should be controlled for as much as possible. But I noticed that, but it also does stand on its own.
Yeah, and maybe it's fresher in people's memory, so it sticks out to them when they're looking down the list. Yeah. I don't know. Nobody said it was a perfect system.
Well, it's also number 3, so
Yeah. Dennis, what's number 2?
Yeah, number 2 is Dottie Has a Gun, which will definitely stick in your memory.
Yes, it will. She's been good. She's been she's sitting on top of the speaker right now, just kind of looking at me like a gargoyle. But she's been chilled tonight, which is nice.
Yeah,
it didn't happen.
It's too dark. It's very dark in the room.
At some point, we need to add her as a 6th co-host. It's like the radio program where there's the research guy off in the corner that the DJ throws off to all the time.
Yeah,
like Dottie is that. She's just interjecting and terrorizing you randomly, but she's never quite heard.
Yeah. Oh man. And number 1, I like this one. I felt really clever when this one came out.
Yes.
But the Shipment of Theseus.
Excellent. So good.
Feels like it came with the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Any honorable mentions that you guys wish were higher for these?
Let's see.
I really like a big gyre of teeth.
So that one is definitely good.
I've got to throw my weight behind Catboy Pugilist. Some of the hits.
I need to look. Go ahead.
I think the ones that I liked were Become Enlightened and Kill Everything.
Yeah,
it was pretty high. It was pretty high on the list and cracked the top 5. And then I also like Satisfactory as well.
Yeah. Satisfactory. That's
pretty
witty.
good.
Mm-hmm.
1 second. Let me.
He's working on some science.
I know I was the first person to fill this out, so I can go back through and check
see what your number 1 is. Yeah.
The one that didn't make it for me that I liked was Laser Shoot Larry.
Oh yeah, that was a good one too. Oh man. So thank you for indulging us on this very self-indulgent thing, and thank you for voting. We will do it again in about 12 months or so.
It was a good turnout this year.
Yeah. Cool. Well, how do you all feel about buttoning it up?
Okay, we have to say buttons 400 times. To
No,
end this
we
episode.
don't.
Here we go.
No, we don't.
But buttons.
No, we don't.
The credit.
It's like, what birthday did you realize you didn't have to go out and get hammered?
21st.
Oh, see, I feel like it's the opposite. The older I get, the more I need to get hammered.
Oh,
fair. All right, so you start saying buttons 400 times.
It's a bell curve.
Yeah.
it is a bell
Stress
curve.
in life increases and your health declines. There's a maximum there.
You know, guys, I turned 12 and I just realized I didn't have to go out and get hammered for my birthday anymore.
That's Yeah, that was more depressing than you
Dennis
intended
was
it to
born
be. I
on
think.
Leap Day.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
The credits begin there somewhere. Thank you so much for listening to level number 400. It's been wild. I'm so happy to have continued doing this with you all. It's a bummer that Jala isn't on. But my gratitude extends to her as well. And for everybody who's listened and interacted, it's a good time. I look forward to this every week. It's weird. I don't know that I could think of think of like what a week would feel like without it. So
It is, it is bizarre. I like how your comparison of the hours to video games, because it's been like 10 years now, and it's like a significant portion of all of our lives.
Yeah. So I don't have any more sappy stuff. All I've got is the usual call to action stuff, ratings, reviews, iTunes, etc. coming back next week. Nothing big's going to change, it's weird. Milestones come and milestones go, but the work continues because it is every week,
So Kole, can we now say that we have done 400 episodes?
Yes, we've done. So even if the recording cutoff right now, I would say we have done 400 episodes. Yes.
Are we going to go from episode 403 to 405?
That would be a fun joke, but I think people that's the kind of thing that I would do, and I would have people emailing me or twittering me every couple of months for the rest of my life, asking what happens.
I mean, that sounds good to me.
Yeah, I see the downside here.
Yep. So I've been Kole Ross. You can catch me on Twitter at Kole Ross.
Yeah, I've been Dennis Furia. Check out Instagram for at Deck of Wonders for pics of the game I made.
Yeah. I've been David Mysmith. Apparently, I've been here.
And I've been Ben Merkel.
Yeah, and she is not here, but it makes sense to put it here. Jala is Jala Chan in all of the places, and stick around for some titles. Okay.
Wheat.
So I only have one.
Okay.
Which is Purge the short ones.
Okay. I have two. It's called Scavenging. And I have Up to My Neck and Torsos.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I had Up to Your Neck and Torsos as well.
All right.
I also had It Belongs in My Museum.
All right. Ben?
I do not have one. I could put forth just saying 400 for the episode, but that sounds weird, I guess. So maybe not. Whatever.
Yeah. It would look like we failed to title it. Does anybody have a strong opinion?
The Purge the short one's got a pretty big reaction.
It did, yeah.
I enjoyed that one.
Let's do that. Yeah.
Sweet.
Cool. All right. I'm going to go and try and get some sleep.
Wise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, you guys.
I will say I'm going to do the same and then probably play more Slay the Spire.
Probably. But,
I mean, the Spire is not going to slay itself.
No,
Not at
it's
all.
not.
All right. Take care, everybody. Have a good week.
Good hanging out, guys.
Have a good week.
Peace, y'all.
Bye.
See ya.